You're looking at a graph of the Dunning-Kruger effect. On the y-axis, we have confidence, and on the x, we have knowledge or experience. And this can be applied to literally any topic in life. And the point of this is to highlight a very human behavior that happens in society. So to explain this, the common example given is chess. When you're brand new to chess, you know absolutely nothing and you have no confidence in your ability to win. But very quickly, you learn what the pieces do, maybe you learn a few opening moves, and your confidence skyrockets immediately to the point where you have overconfidence and you feel like you know everything even though you just started. But as you slowly gain experience in whatever topic it is, you gain enough perspective to realize that you actually don't know as much as you think you know. Bringing it back to the chess example, this can be the point that you begin to play games against people that aren't complete beginners, and you face adversity for the first time. Your confidence crashes, and you realize there's more to this than I thought. The funny thing about this is, as you continue to gain knowledge and experience, your confidence level continues to drop. But eventually, as you continue to put in work, time, and effort, your knowledge increases and your confidence does go back up. Although it tends to never be as high as it was in the beginning when you had this arrogance due to a lack of perspective. I love this graph because it can be applied to anything in life. And people think that your confidence is more like this. It's a linear kind of path where you gain confidence as your knowledge goes up. But the reality is very different, and this can explain a lot of issues that we have in society, especially people arguing on social media, thinking they know everything when in reality, it's complicated, but they simply don't have the knowledge and expertise to even realize that yet. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, obviously it applies to investing as well. So on this channel, income investing is a pretty popular topic, and my two favorite income-oriented ETFs are Divo and Jepi. And the reason for this is pretty simple. I think as an overall package, they're very solid. So they give you a great dividend yield, as well as great total returns. Now, I recently got a comment from Kevin on a channel, and he says Divo is not nearly as impressive as people are touting in my humble opinion. And in a way, I have to agree with Kevin. Divo and Jepi aren't the absolute pinnacle of dividend ETFs. In fact, in the next couple of years, I fully expect to see a new ETF come out that is better than both Jepi and Divo. It's just that right now, with the products on the market, I think Jepi and Divo are the best overall packages for income investors. But in terms of dislikes, the major thing that I don't like about both Jepi and Divo is that they're actively managed. So you have to rely a lot on the management of these funds in order to generate that return. And with Jepi and Divo, there's two underlying areas where management can really affect the returns. The first one is picking the underlying securities. Divo focuses on dividend growth companies, and Jepi focuses on undervalued companies with a low volatility. But even so, within those parameters, the management has to make the final decision on which companies to invest in. And then secondarily, with these funds, management then has to write covered calls on top of it to generate that income. But so far, that considered, they have been performing very well, which is why they're my favorite funds. Now, something like Qyld takes a completely different approach. This is known as a systematic or quote-unquote dumb covered call writing process. So all this fund does is every month they write at-the-money call options on 100% of the underlying index. So it has the benefit of removing the human element from the equation. Although Qyld definitely has its own set of trade-offs. If we benchmark it against the QQQ, its index, it has severely underperformed in a time of a rising bull market. So you can see how they have different sets of trade-offs, but I really like Qylg. This is an offshoot of Qyld. I've talked about it before on the channel, so check out those past videos if you haven't. But here they have the same systematic covered call writing process on a monthly basis, but it's only on half of the underlying index. So Qylg keeps the systematic approach, but it also gives you that exposure to upside potential of equities. And just by happenstance, when benchmarking it against Divo and Jepi, even though it has a completely different strategy, they have almost identical returns. Now, unfortunately, in M1 Finance, Qylg is yet to be listed, so we can't directly invest in it, but you can actually make your own version of Qylg. So if we go ahead and create a new pie, all we have to do here is add in QQQ, add this to the basket, and then go ahead and add Qyld, which is covering 100% of the NASDAQ with covered calls, combine them, and we just completely replicated QYLG. So we have half of the exposure to the price appreciation of the QQQ, and half of it is covered in at-the-money calls. The combined dividend yield is the same as QYLG, 5.8%, and the total returns are also identical. But we actually have more benefits of doing this manually. So we can go ahead and edit this, and we can change the allocation. So if we want a lower dividend yield, we can put in 40% for the covered call aspect and 60% exposure to the equities in the QQQ. Now we have more total returns of around 18% and a dividend yield of 4.7%. And I have to say, I love this idea. I wouldn't go all in and replace all of my dividend investments with this kind of a setup, but I think it's a great complement to Divo and Jepi because it's a completely different approach. It's passive, it removes the human element, and you can precisely control how much income you want and how much exposure to equities you want. We can even take it one step further by removing these and choosing a different index. So the way I would personally do this is by the S&P 500 index. So that can be represented by a mixture of VOO and XYLD. So just like that, now we have a custom passive dividend ETF based off of the S&P 500 where we can precisely control how much growth and how much dividend yield we want. With a 50-50 split, we have a dividend yield of 5.2% and 1-year performance of plus 18%. Coming back to the Dunning-Kruger effect, if I pitched this idea to myself a couple of years ago, I would have thought this is a terrible idea. But now I have a bit more perspective because of my increase in knowledge. I'm definitely not here yet. I'm not Warren Buffett by any means. I'm probably down here at the bottom of the confidence curve, but that gives me enough experience to see how this can be a beneficial part of a portfolio. And I think a setup like this is actually a great way to go. So you have Jepi and Divo, which as I mentioned are still my favorite dividend ETFs, but I acknowledge that they have flaws in the form of active management. And that's where you can implement this strategy of having this custom dividend covered call ETF that has a different set of trade-offs. So coming into this custom dividend covered call ETF we made, it's very simple, it's systematic, and it acts as a hedge against the active management found in both Divo and Jepi, along with its very unique benefits of exactly being able to dictate how much dividend yield you want and how much exposure to price appreciation you want, along with being able to choose the index that this is all based off of. But this is an open discussion. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think about this whole thing, because on this Dunning-Kruger effect curve, we're all in different spots. So I would love to gather your opinions on this matter. But that's gonna do it for the video. If you're still watching and enjoyed, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.